Welcome to City Beat. It's our pleasure to talk to Assistant Chief of Police in Port Huron Police, Jeremy Young. Jeremy, first of all, thanks for being on the program with us.
Thanks for having me.
We had, in a previous program, we had the chief on, the new chief.
Yeah.
So you've taken the role as Assistant Chief. Tell us a little bit about your evolving 22 plus years with the department, the things that you've done throughout your career to get you where you are today in the Assistant Chief position.
Yeah, it was kind of, I just listened to the chief there talk, and my story is coming up is very similar. I started at SC4, taking criminal justice courses, and somebody told me about a job as a cadet at the police department. So I went over there and applied and became a cadet. And I think that was the moment that I really knew, like, okay, this is the career that I want to do. And went to the police academy, started out as road patrol, did about 14 years, mostly nights. Went to our major crime unit, spent 4 years there, had a lot of fun doing a lot of the major investigations throughout the whole county. Went back to the road for a little bit, did a stint out with the drug task force, promoted to sergeant. Went back and ran our major crime unit, which was, to me, it was the best position in the department at the time. Had a lot of fun and put together some good cases and worked with a great group of guys. And then from there, promoted to lieutenant and just kind of worked my way up from there. Became captain, and then just recently promoted to assistant chief.
It's interesting talking with Chief in another program and now talking with you. I see a lot of similar characteristics in you too. Would you say that there are some skill set or some personality traits that are perfect for the job that you were in? Very composed, carrying yourself the way you do. Are there some things that young people would need to look at before becoming a police officer, I guess is what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes with training, starting from the police academy. But I think, you have to learn to kind of take things in and take a moment, think about things, and you're really out there as a problem solver. So you can't get too emotionally attached. You can't get too high, too low. You go on these calls and you have to be the calming voice because it's chaotic. And if you go there and you add to that, flame on, you're just kind of, you're not going to get anywhere. So I think you learn that pretty quick, like when you're there, is to try to de-escalate. And even if you don't really know what that is or kind of have those skills yet, you learn pretty quick on the job.
Yeah, you touched on what I was really trying to get at, which is the skill set of being the calming force in the storm that's happening, right?
Yeah, and that's very important, and the officers have to do that. And we're hiring, young officers that don't have a lot of life experience, but we really push that, we train that, they go to the academy, we bring them back, and we do a lot of in-house training, and we try to get them up to speed as quick as possible because I think that's one of the biggest skill sets they need to be able to do their job.
Mm-hmm. In talking with Chief and now talking with you as Assistant Chief, I see there's some common things, and you both, I can tell, enjoy what you do.
Oh,
I think that
absolutely.
would be imperative kind of to be a good police officer and then certainly an Assistant Chief or Chief.
Yeah, I look back on the road, I had fun. It was fun, getting into stuff and working with the guys and girls out there every night, because if you don't have that, 12 hours is a long time to push a car out there and respond to calls and things like that. And, everybody that we hire, you have to have that service-oriented kind of mentality where you want to, get out there and do good and help people and things like that. But you also got to have fun. You got to want to do the job and be motivated to go out there and do it. And I think that really helps.
So you've evolved from a cadet, all the way back to Assistant Chief. I'm sure somewhere along the line it kind of clicked with you. I wouldn't mind getting into police leadership. What were those moments like where you thought, well, maybe that's something I would aspire to be right down the road?
Yeah, I think, you look at when you come up and you have these supervisors that you looked up to, that mentored you, and you've seen some things that they did that really helped you along the way. And then you get to the point where you're looking for more of a challenge. And part of that is promoting and doing something different. But then you kind of look at, how can I give back? How can I, take some of the things that I learned, some of the training that I had, some of the lessons that were given to me, how can I pass that along? How can I get the next people ready, to take my spot, and so on. And I think you have to have that continuous cycle so that the department itself will continue to run and evolve.
Sounds like you're, as a force, you're in the constant state of looking for the next set of leaders, right? So that there isn't a gap kind of between, Chief Platzer and current chief and assistant chief, who down the road possibly could become chief. So you're in that mode kind of all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts right from the officers. We provide them, as much advanced training as we can. It might be specialty training. It might be field training officers where they're in a somewhat of a supervision role, mentor role. As sergeants, we start sending them to leadership schools and get them ready as a lieutenant. We send our lieutenants to staff and command. And so every step of the way, there's kind of a progression where we're trying to get them ready. We're trying to get them ahead of and prepared to take on new roles within the department.
Yeah. When we come back, I want to talk about kind of day-to-day operations and what your role is evolving into as we continue. And we'll be back on City Beat in just a moment.
Semco Energy Gas Company is dedicated to you with a focus on customer service and fuel today for a sustainable tomorrow. Semco Energy works hard to make your time with family and friends warm and cozy. Semco Energy Gas Company. Natural gas works for Michigan.
Welcome back to City Beat here on Thumbcoast TV. It's our pleasure to have the Assistant Chief of Police in Port Huron, Jeremy Young, with us. Jeremy, we were talking about the involvement of yourself, and the department is kind of always evolving beforehand. Now that you're in this role, and I'm sure you had mentors in the role prior to you, what is the typical role, and what are some of the duties that you have, and maybe the day-to-day operations as Assistant Chief of Police?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of paperwork things, different things that I kind of oversee. But the biggest would be the employees, the officers, the supervisors, meeting with them on a regular basis, meeting with the officers, handling the employee day-to-day stuff. So when there's needs or issues, when we're looking at training or changing things, if there's problems that come up, what type of solutions are we looking at? We right now, with kind of a newer administration, everything's on the table, right? We're looking at how do we improve their job, how do we make them more efficient, looking at policies, making sure those are up to date. So that's a big part of what I do, overseeing the Detective Bureau, keeping track with them. We have school resource officers, so we have officers out at Drug Task Force, so we have a lot of things going on. So just kind of keeping contact, connecting with them, making sure that they have what they need, making sure that we're addressing any issues or problems that may arise from that. So that's the biggest thing that takes up a lot of my day, and the other stuff is a little mundane and but important. Some of the subject controls reviews, doing those type of things, making sure that we have all that squared away.
As kind of one of the lead administrators within the department, I'm sure you have to keep an eye out for signs of that somebody's under a lot of stress as an officer, because your jobs are not easy.
Sure.
And so you kind of get in tune with what to kind of look for, where maybe they need to step back and take some time. Those, I'm sure, are a certain part of your job.
Yeah, and I think that's something where law enforcement in general is just trying to catch up with. I think at our department, Port Huron, we do a pretty good job. We've implemented a peer support team. We have a liaison from community mental health, and they work together and do a lot for our officers. So we're trying to be as proactive as we can with that. And I think from the feedback that I've heard, the officers are utilizing those resources and taking advantage of that. we put a lot on our supervisors to kind of catch those things at an early stage and intervene. And I think that we do a good job, and I think there's room for improvement, and we're constantly looking at ways to do that. But it's a big part of policing nowadays, and I think a lot of the officers have accepted it, which is important because 15 years ago or 22 years ago when I started, it just wasn't a common thing to accept, and it's a very important part of the job, and longevity and things like that. So we take we take it very seriously, and I think so do our officers.
You mentioned a word in our first segment, de-escalate. I think you used the word. So, when people go to the dentist, it's not normally, oh boy, I get to go to the dentist. The same thing kind of as, I have to call the police, or the police have stopped me, or whatever. So you're dealing with a kind of a crisis moment all the time in the role.
Yeah.
What are some of the skills that police officers and some of the things that you talk about within your department to be the de-escalator? Be able to pull that back and be the calming force in the face of the storm that's happening at that moment.
Well, I think that being able to talk, with an empathetic voice, be able to talk in a calming voice, even during the chaos. Because if you just jump in there and you start responding like they're responding, it's not going to work. So sometimes that takes a little bit to get used to and realize it works. You just got to kind of stick with it a little bit. And we teach the officers to kind of separate the chaos a little bit if you can, and give them a chance to express themselves and bring them down a little bit, calm them down. And our officers do a good job. They recognize things, and somebody needs a cigarette, and they're like, let's go out and have a cigarette. And I think they do a fabulous job with it, and I think that every case is a little bit different. So just having that calming voice, being empathetic, giving a chance to listen. We're not going to go there and just jump in, fix the problem until they hear it and listen to them. They're not going to be very effective. So I think they do a good job doing that. I review body cam footage all day long with the subject controls, and they do a good job of talking to people, and so we try to give them credit when they do that and let them know that they're doing a good job. So.
It's funny, I was just about to ask you about body cams. That's been another technology thing that's happened that I think that I would say most forces and most police officers at every level now wear them. That can be both good for looking at what the person that you're working with has done, but also I'm sure it's a training mechanism for you and the department with how the officer may have handled the situation as well.
Absolutely, and I think our officers enjoy having that now because they have everything on body cam, and it's easier to write the reports. It's easier to this is what happened. It's on video, and I think that they understand that the importance of it, and we bring it to them. They'll bring it to us, saying, "Hey, I had a really good, incident. This is probably something that we could maybe use for training," and we do that. We have our February in-service training every year. And a lot of stuff that we do are based off of incidents during the prior year. And now with the body cams, we even have more detail, more way to show the officer what we're talking about and kind of look at that. And so de-escalation is a big part of that training that comes from body cam videos.
Yeah. I think the common word that I would say in talking with you thematically is relationships, right? That you build with not only your fellow officers, but also with the community as well, or the people that you're dealing with. Would you say that would be accurate?
Absolutely. It's a very big thing that we are focused on within our community. We have our school resource officers, we have our community service officers, we have the CMH liaison, we have juvenile detectives, we have officers that are dedicated to this stuff. We get our officers that are on the road involved. When there's Shop with a Hero, there are different events. We just had one where we were with the fire department and Tri EMS, and we were, building the gingerbread houses, and we offered the officers, if you're on the road and you're not busy, go there and help out, join in. And so our officers really have taken that, and when they have opportunity, even when they're working, we allow them to participate in these events, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, fantastic. Well, Happy New Year. Congratulations on your new role.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate you educating us on the department and your job as Assistant Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Take care.
And that'll wrap up this edition of City Beat here on Thumb Coast TV. Thank you so much for joining us.